Welcome, Chris here from Videomaker, and you're watching our review of the Rhino EVO slider, Flywheel, and Rhino Motion. So we use this slider a lot, and we really wanted to put it through its paces. So we not only use Rhino Motion, shooting both time-lapse and motorized movement on the slider, but we also use the Flywheel and without the Flywheel when shooting. So we have all the footage that we shot and we put it in a montage so that you can see the experience. Really, overall, it's lightweight, easy to use. We have the 24-inch carbon fiber version that we used here, and it's really easy to set up the Rhino Motion as well. So without further ado, here's that montage. Pans and tilts can be boring, especially when you look at that same move from a slider. So we really love using a slider because it ups your production value with really quite easy operation. Now, the Rhino EVO slider, the 24-inch carbon fiber that we used, it's got very smooth movement without the flywheel. You can adjust the drag. It really was nice. It mounted our tripod ahead very well. It was really not a big deal. However, we would recommend that you most definitely buy the Flywheel. The 24-inch carbon fiber slider by itself is $500, but for 75 bucks more, you can get the Flywheel. And the Flywheel just attaches through one little screw on the end of the slider, and it makes everything smooth like butter. It just adds a little bit of inertia just to make it so those smooth movements are really easy to get. And we really liked it. In fact, we would not recommend buying it without that. It's just so low of a cost for what improvement it does for the slider. Now, the slider by itself worked just fine, but with the Flywheel, it was just amazing. So really, if we're talking to Rhino, well, Rhino, you should just include this. You should just make it a little bit more expensive because it's amazing. It's just really nice, and we really like it. That was shooting with the Flywheel. We had no problems. It was really easy to move around. It's a slider. There's not much to it. So then we moved on to using Rhino Motion. Now, Rhino Motion goes together. Now, this is the motor, and this is the little brain here, and they actually connect via some magnets, so they go on like that. Now you have some cables going from your camera if you're shooting time-lapse in their advanced time-lapse mode, and then also going to the actual motor itself so they can communicate. And well, there's just these two little clips here that go on the end of your slider, and with two thumb screws, bam, it's ready to go, it's ready to operate. It was very easy to set up. Using live motion, which is controlling the camera so you can run video and just move it. Now you can either turn the dial and control the speed that way, or you could actually set up a move so you can tell it how long it wants to go, so how far across the actual slider it goes, the actual duration you want it to take. And then as well, if you want it to loop, so if you want to go back and forth, which is a really nice option if you're maybe doing an interview. However, since it won't actually have a parallax and keep you centered, it might be a little bit of an issue depending on what you're shooting. The time-lapse was easy to operate. The menu was really easy to figure out what you wanted to do. It really took a lot of the math out of your head when having to shoot time-lapse, especially when you're making it a little bit more complicated with having to move across the slider. And well, Rhino Motion with live motion was just really easy. In fact, we'll probably use it for all of our product shots or anything like that because it's just consistent. You can shoot the same thing over and over and over again with smooth ease. And we really found that with the Flywheel, when we were shooting, we weren't shooting more than maybe twice any given thing we were trying to shoot, and then with the motion control on there, well, it was the same every time, so we only took one take. So if you're trying to keep your data down low, or you just don't have a lot of time to keep on trying that move, well, this is your solution, really. And the price isn't too bad. So carbon fiber 24-inch, which is what we used, $500. The Flywheel, $75. And then Rhino Motion is $600. So all in, you're talking $1,175, and you have it as we used it. Now, we used it both with a Canon 5D as well with a Sony A7. And we have both the time-lapse control cords here, and so that was no big deal. And they both operated flawlessly. It was really, really simple. And the nice thing is when it's moving with the time lapse, it's moving, taking a picture, moving, taking a picture. So when you're in advanced mode, you're not gonna have motion while you're taking a picture. So if you're doing a long exposure, you're not gonna have any motion blur with the camera actually moving or what have you. So that's really nice. And then if you don't have maybe you have like a 7D Mark II that has a intervalometer inside it, and you don't wanna have the advanced mode, which I really don't know why you wouldn't want it, because it's really nice just having the brain do all the work for you. But if maybe you don't have the cord or whatever, you can do that. But I think the timing might be a little bit off. You're just gonna have to futz with it a little bit. So overall, loved using it. It was really quite affordable. Like I said, $1,175 for the whole thing. And it just worked flawlessly. There was only two things that we would like more. Well, one, we'd like it longer, so if we reviewed this again, we'd ask for Rhino to send us a longer one, because it's just nice to have a little bit longer distance. So you can always use shorter distance, but the longer one would be nice. But it does come with a little bit more manhandling issues with trying to mount it on a tripod or what have you. And then the other thing is, well, when you have the flywheel on, the little feet on the tripod or on the slider here are really nice, and it makes it so you can mount it on a table, and that's really cool, except for they actually move around, and that's not a big deal. It's nice for actually getting level, but when they're stowed away, well, they can actually add drag to the bottom of the slider and rub against it. So I was shooting and it was like, man, this is feeling funny. Well, I found out that it was actually the foot that was rubbing against the flywheel itself, so that added some unwanted drag. But really, once I figured that out, set up my shot and made sure that foot was out of the way, and bam, it was working great. So there you have it. That's our review of the Rhino EVO 24-inch carbon fiber slider with flywheel and Rhino Motion. If you'd like to buy any one of these three products, well, there's a link in the description, and you'll help us make videos like these. As well, if you like this shirt, well, you can buy that too. There's a link in there as well. As always, like, share, and comment. We want to know what you think. I've been Chris from Videomaker, and until next time, keep doing the hard work that you do. Bye-bye.